Yo guys, welcome to The Last Lap. Don't forget to drop a lovely, juicy 5-star rating if you're watching on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Hope you enjoy, and let's get into it. Yeah, it might have been one of the best sprints ever, as in like second best with Brazil.
I think, as a total weekend, this definitely delivered. And again, like you said, Aldas, me and you we were there on Friday and Saturday, so we got a bit of that experience as well. And I think from a fan point of view, we were saying this, the value for money you get as a fan going on a Friday and seeing one practice session and then qualifying, it really, like, I've been to Friday practice sessions before, and the feeling you get on a Friday, it feels like the weekend has started. It feels like a Saturday. That's the feeling I got anyway.
Yeah, I was very similar in terms of this is now the second, I think, sprint weekend that we've both been to. We were at the first one ever in 2021 in Silverstone. And whatever you want to say off track, and people have their opinions of the sprint format. Does it need to change a little bit? Is it right? Does it fit into Formula One? How many should we have? Or people are asking all of these questions. And as someone, like, when you're actually paying and going to the track to watch it, I think it's a better experience, and you get more for your money during a sprint weekend. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, the format, is it right in terms of like the qualifying for the race being on the Friday, then there's like a separate day that feels a bit disjointed on the Saturday that's just for the sprint. Maybe those can be tidied up and changed and experimented, but again, as a fan, when you go there, you get more for your money. And so I was super happy. Again, it's a bit of a strange setup because we were, again, like you said, only there for the Friday and Saturday, woke up on the Sunday and came here for the last lap back to the UK to watch the race. But
I don't feel I missed out.
Yeah, absolutely.
We saw a race.
Yeah, we saw
worldwide.
Yeah, we saw practice. We saw a bit of F2 and F3 as well because they were at that same race, and we saw a race yesterday as well. So we kind of, I feel like I haven't missed out. So yeah, definitely. I think it's for the fan. I think it's good watching.
Kiera, what do you think about the sprint format? Do you like, because it does definitely split opinions still.
Yeah,
quite firmly.
It's a really difficult one. I'm always, normally I have an opinion, and I'm normally like but I am on the fence with it. It's like, it is good, it is enjoyable, it is really good, but then, is it needed? Is, I think, the main thing that people are kind of questioning. Is it actually needed? But it is fun. But then, like, sometimes you can get sprint races and they're awful. And you think, oh my God, I never want to do this again. Yeah. And then it's like,
stunk.
We're not doing it again. But then you have another one. It's like, well, this is the best thing ever. But I do think, like you said, in terms of the fan experience, you're not sitting. Fridays are good. I always enjoy a Friday at Grand Prix, but you are then watching so many practice sessions and it's all the same. Whereas if you do have this format, I think if you were to go, it would be pretty good. But I don't know actually watching how much it adds, but it's different. I don't mind doing it. I've always said I don't mind doing it when they sprinkle them here and there, but I wouldn't like it to take over every race.
I definitely, I don't think it should be the norm because I feel like it is quite cool. I actually completely forgot when we went to Austria that, it is a sprint, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And it kind of, it kind of made the weekend a bit more exciting. So I definitely think there should be a cap in terms of how many they have, although it depends. I think they do make perhaps a little bit more money than some of the other races. So it's one of those where all of the race venues are going to want a sprint.
It's annoying though, because it is that novelty value of just like, oh, cool guys, we've actually got a sprint this weekend. And it's like, is it 8 times a season? Or is it 6 this season?
6 this year.
6 this season. Like it's sprinkled like quite lightly across the season. Whereas I think if it was every time.
But it's got to be at the right track. And that's the weird thing in terms of, I'm sure all of the tracks would love to have a sprint, but F1 almost need to kind of realize, right, you might want to sprint and you might make a lot of money, but it just won't work. It would be boring on your track. So that's why it's a bit of a weird one for Formula One. They need to kind of know which are the good tracks for sprints and actually do them there instead of just handing them out to anyone that wants to do it.
We had there was a sprint at Imola, wasn't there? Like, was it last year?
Yeah.
Or was it the year before?
Yeah.
And it was just not a sprint track. Like, you can't overtake there. Do you know what I mean? Like, imagine
Imola's a tough sell anyway.
Yeah. Imagine having a sprint at Monaco.
Yeah, there's nothing sprint about that.
No.
You could jog faster.
Yeah.
Just kick a hole in the bottom of your car and run. Overtake. Easy. That's the thing, like, the sprint was good. It was helped by the fact that Niran was opening his can of...
That was not quite...
What's that? What is that?
It's a Brazilian unnamed drink. It's not sponsored by them.
There you go.
The nearest shop was an off-license that's Brazilian. That's all.
Try it.
I've already had it before.
I want to review. I want to live
said this
review.
was a mukbang, so...
Yeah,
I want to review. Come on. Audio only. Get the... Bit of fizz.
A lot of bubbling and stuff. It tastes like It's kind of like Dr. Pepper. It's cherry.
Dr.
Like,
Pepper?
It's a cherry.
A cherry Dr. Pepper.
Cherry-ish thing. Yeah.
Interesting.
You don't sound very impressed. to be
Would
honest.
recommend. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah. Would recommend.
But back to sprints anyway. Sprints worked again. This track it worked, helped with the changeable weather as well. We were sat at turn 3 and the drizzle was there and it's kind of on and off, obviously dry towards the end. But something we didn't talk about on the live stream, but I wanted to talk about is this Verstappen Perez scuffle at the start of the sprint race, because it was, as you would say, box office, right?
Box office entertainment.
So watch. It was great. Like Checo got the move done on the inside of turn 1, then squeezed Max onto the grass, no question. Whether there was the intent, that's more up for debate. And then Max gave Checo no room, turn 3 or 4.
Yeah.
What do we make of that? Because it was all kind of, they kind of settled it. Obviously, Max wasn't happy in the moment, kind of understandably, and they had their discussion. Checo was like, I didn't see you because of the spray. I mean, I asked you guys before we started the stream, when we were talking about it, do you reckon Checo saw him?
Yeah.
100%. You can see his onboard. No, he gets a decent start, overtakes Max into turn 1, and so Max is behind him. Max tries to then overtake him.
Gets a run on him.
Max gets a run on him, and you can see Checo look in his mirror. 1, 2. He's obviously, he knows Max is there. It's also a bit weird because that's where the racing line goes. It kind of in that straight, you go from the right hand side of the track to the left. So Checo is on the racing line, but it was an aggressive move to squeeze your teammate as well. But
Max was almost 80% alongside.
Yeah.
He
And
was
he's on the
grass.
grass in the wet. Like,
he had to fully back out.
I just don't even think it's a question of whether he saw him or not, because it's a race start. Of course, you're looking in your mirrors. Like, you're always looking in your mirror.
Yeah, and of
Like,
course someone's going to
obviously
be
seen
there.
him. Yeah.
Like, just overtaking him. Like,
Yeah.
literally just overtaking him.
And Checo knows he's taken a compromised line through 1. So he's not going to be able to carry the speed of a car that has, say, even if it's not Max, another car might have been able to take a clean line through turn 1. Because he don't know what's going on behind him.
For me, right, that's where Sergio Perez was not like the natural line. So the reason he's gone there is because he knows there's a car there to defend.
Yeah.
So already you just lose, you kind of lose that argument of,
But also, is it, it might have been a little bit over the line. Maybe it was marginal, but he's got to do it. I mean, I think Max has the edge over him in wheel-to-wheel combat. And we saw, literally about 5 seconds later, even though Max kind of went on the grass and had to back out, lost a huge amount of momentum, he still was quick enough to dive bomb Checo.
Mate,
He was
he
like full
lunged from
throttle.
so far back.
Exactly. So there's that kind of backwards and forwards between those two. They're both I think they're both very aggressive towards each other, even though they're teammates, because both of them came on the radio and then said, what is the other one doing? That was way over the line. So there's kind of that. They've got a good, I think, relationship between them, but there's no doubt there's a bit of needle, there's a bit of just something between them. So it's, in the end, I don't think Checo even had the pace to really win the sprint. Even if he was still first, I think Max would have overtook him. But Checo needs to fight for himself. He needs to stick up for himself. He needs to, show the team that he's not just going to bend over backwards for Max. And that's what he did, even though it kind of didn't work out.
But
Pause.
But I think push, if he did see him, then, because that, quite easily, if Max doesn't, that could easily have resulted on, even on Inters, Max, losing control. You remember Bottas, Russell in Imola, when one driver's kind of trying to
remind me.
and you hit the wet stuff and then spear into the side. That could easily have resulted in both those Red Bulls being out. So,
it didn't. So,
so life goes on. But it was a bit, and I think, to be fair, Max gave Checo very little room, but he still made the corner.
He was a bit out of control. I think with turn 3, he was kind of like,
he knew what he was doing though.
Yeah,
because he was aggrieved and right, fair enough.
Yeah, but the dive bomb I think was the aggrievement.
Yeah,
I think once he actually got there, it was I haven't got control.
But he made the corner and he made the move stick, so it was all fair in love and war. And obviously Max won in the end.
Bit of argy-bargy is what we
Bit
want.
of argy-barge, and then into the race. And again, the race, we get to this stage because Max is so good in that Red Bull. That combination is amazing. And we kind of talked about other drivers, but we were saying about Lando. I wanted to briefly touch on Lando as well. Lando in the McLaren, not just his performance because he's good around the Red Bull ring. We know this, but he was right up there with Carlos.
Carlos.
These upgrades, not on Oscar's car this weekend. P19, yikes. But Lando had them. 18. I stand corrected. Quality, surely. McLaren fans. Papayan's got to be happy.
Has to be, surely.
This was a big one for them because McLaren have been in the mud for a few years now. And I think Lando is definitely in the back of his mind thinking, is this where I'm going to be long term? You know, they keep promising obviously there was a big kind of restructure. They brought in a Rob Marshall from Red Bull. James Key obviously left the team, and this is kind of the first proper upgrades from that brand new structure. So they had to kind of, you know, they had to deliver, or at least show that they're improving the car, because it's weird, because I think they still have the opportunity to beat Alpine in the constructors, although it's going to be quite difficult. But when you have Lando Norris, who I think is probably, apart from kind of the big teams up at the front of the top four, I think he's the best driver in that midfield. He's that X factor that McLaren have. But are they going to keep hold of him if they don't give him the car? So this was a big weekend. We know he goes well around Austria. I think definitely a podium in 2021. Some great qualifying laps, I think, as well. He was on the front row maybe with Max in 2021 as well. So he's a bit of a specialist here, but the upgrades also worked. He was quick in the sprint. He was quick in the race. And it's a bit of a tease in terms of what this guy could do in a much better car. Like, put him in a Ferrari. You know, is he fighting for maybe, you know, with Charles for P2? I think that's what kind of annoys me about the fact that the McLaren just, yeah, are they going to deliver? Are they not? It's that kind of question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's got to give him some confidence, right?
I think so. I think it gives McLaren confidence. I think when you can actively compare your new upgrades to your old upgrades in the same race. Sorry, bring it up again. But once Oscar, I mean, you know, I'm an Oscar fan, but I think we can all look and think he is a good driver, Oscar Piastri. And I think once he does then get them upgrades that Lando has, I think that's a really good package for McLaren. I still think their driver lineup is really good. And I think once
Oscar put some moves in that sprint race.
Yeah.
He was so unlucky in the race as well with the Magnussen front wing thing.
Oh, definitely. So I think that, you know, once obviously they now know, right, great, these upgrades are good, put it on Oscar's car, then they can start, like you say, fighting with Alpine, getting up there. And I think they'll really bring that fight probably to Mercedes, I reckon.
Well, I think it's important that McLaren close that gap by the end of the year to give Lando the confidence that, okay, this is the team that can. Because I think if McLaren is still adrift at the start of next season, he has to look elsewhere.
Yeah. I think next season, the last one, because like Kiera said, they definitely have the driver lineup. I think Oscar's been really impressive as a rookie. When you look at the struggles that both Sargent and De Vries have had, I think Oscar, especially when you compare, I think he's arguably got the most difficult teammate out of the three. So I think he's compared really well. I know the qualifying deficit or the qualifying head-to-head it doesn't look that great, but I think relative last year or the last 2 years, there's been so much talk about McLaren, about their driver lineup, or how's Ricciardo doing, how much he's holding them back. I don't feel like there's been much talk about, look how much Oscar Piastri is holding back McLaren. I feel like he's done a really good job. So I think they've got the driver lineup to kind of challenge Alpine. It's just about the car. And this was also, I think this was only 50% of their upgrades as well, or something like that. So.
Yeah, they've got like that B spec they're talking about. This Austria upgrade was 50%. There's now 2 smaller upgrades coming for Britain and Hungary, I believe. And then it'll be the full B spec car by the end.
I mean, look, listen, if that was just half of the upgrades and
they're winning.
They're winning the whole championship.
They're winning
the constructors.
Red Bull,
probably about 300 points off Red Bull already, but
they will close that deficit by Spa.
McLaren in the second half of the season, we're going for a title charge.
We're going for a title charge.
Zach Brown ripping off the bandage.
They're been going scouts all day.
Shout out to those who got that reference, by the way.
That Andrew, well, not that Andrew Tate.
Oh my God, it's the same name, isn't it?
Tate, the United Andy Tate.
The OG Andrew Tate.
My Andy Tate.